Fighting with My Family, the movie based on the WWE superstar known as Paige, is coming out pretty soon, and I was fortunate enough to go and watch it a few weeks ago, and now I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. Some people would call that a Fighting with My Family review, and that's because that's exactly what it is. It's the right word. It's the right word. This is a Fighting with My Family review. To kick things off, it's good. Easy to watch from start to finish. It does take you on the journey as you see Paige start out as a professional wrestler in Norwich, England, and slowly make her way up the ranks before becoming the youngest Divas champion in WWE history, and that is a true story. It has been made to be as accessible as possible, and on that note, if you do consider yourself a die-hard WWE fan, there are going to be certain things that happen in the movie where you sit in your chair, raise an eyebrow and go, well, there's no way it would have happened like that. That's clearly a bunch of poppycock, and it's not poppycock, it's a movie. It's not real, it's been done to make the story more flavoursome and just so it makes sense given the context of the people around Paige in the film. So I just wanted to get that out there in case after you've seen it you feel the need to point out, well, that can't be true, and that can't be true. There's an essence of truth in it, but they've just shifted it around structurally so it works here, and it does. In short, it's not a biography, and it's all been done just to be entertaining, and that's exactly what should have happened. For example, I don't think it was The Rock that told Paige during WrestleMania 30 that she was going to debut on Raw 24 hours later, but that's what happens here. And it's a nice moment. As is the style of it. While this is a WWE and Dwayne Johnson produced film, it has a real British heart to it, mostly because the director is Stephen Merchant, who also has a small role in it. It captures the feel of the UK and the UK wrestling scene wonderfully, right down to seeing shows in overly carpeted pubs. If you have seen the documentary that it was based on, it aired on Channel 4 a few years ago, just imagine that but with some cinematic sheen. And that's where we end up. A big reason for this is the cast. Nick Frost and Lena Headey are excellent as Paige's parents, as is Florence Pugh, who plays Paige, and really, she steals the whole damn film. Aside from actually looking like her, her performance from zero to hero and the struggles that can go along with that, even though you are heading towards your dream, is absolutely spot on. And if this isn't like a big breakout moment for the actress, I will be surprised. It was to such a level, I now want to go out and check other films she's been in, because I think she's really talented. She nailed it. There's also plenty of meat on the story for you to sink your teeth into, because it's not just a happy-go-lucky tale. You've got everything with Zack Knight, Paige's brother, who wants nothing more than to become a WWE superstar, but he doesn't, and he has to accept that while also seeing his own sister, seeing Paige, go on to have crazy success. And obviously there's everything with Paige when she gets to NXT and doesn't exactly blow the doors off the place. It never gets overly complicated or too layered and would much rather stick to the top line, but that is exactly what the film is going for. It doesn't want to get you in the cinema seat and then present you with this dark tale of devastation, but it does want to paint a picture of what it takes to become a success and the pitfalls you have to try to avoid. And that's kind of a cool thing to touch upon too, because even when it looks like somebody is kicking ass, there's always something beneath the surface that they're probably having a hard time with. And to see it put out in this way, especially when wrestling is involved, well, I liked it. I think it's a good message to send out there. But yeah, bringing it right back, this does follow Saraya Knight as she does decide, oh, I like this pro wrestling thing, and makes it all the way to the big time. And you also get to see a makeshift tryout, a makeshift NXT tryout no less, at the O2 Arena. This is hilarious in many ways because the man responsible for that is the one and only Vince Vaughn. If you've watched any single comedy film over the last 20 years, at some point you will have seen Vince Vaughn. So if you are a wrestling fan like me and you understand how NXT works, plus you've seen his other movies, it's really hard not to watch it and go, wait a minute, that is just Vince Vaughn. And I get it, I know that's what acting is, he's playing a part, but it's just so far removed in two worlds that I never thought I'd see come together that I couldn't help but chuckle away at it. So I thought I'd mention it here. Although fair play to Mr. Vince Vaughn, he does a damn good job with it and kind of serves as the film's mentor. Being a wrestling movie too, you're also going to see a lot of in-ring action, and that may be where the film is at its best. Tessa Blanchard stands in for Florence Pugh to take on the role as Paige, and just goes to show she is a really good pro wrestler. She can do it in the ring. If you've never seen her, go check her out. And now she can also do it in the movie ring, whatever that means. She was the perfect choice. All of these matches are also balanced enough to not only tie into the story and make sure that progresses and give it the drama that it so needs, but also tells non-wrestling fans who may have just stumbled into this movie, look at this crazy world, why don't you check it out? It's really entertaining, it's really fun, but also it's a dangerous thing to get involved with. That, I think, is really important and goes to show that accessibility that we were talking about earlier. It wants to educate, but also give a little nudge to those who understand it. Whereas the plot is deliberately very on the nose. When you do get to the little bits like Paige going to NXT and working out how that training system works, or see some really small shows that they're competing on, you're going to have two schools of thoughts, I'd imagine. Either you're not going to get it at all because you don't understand this crazy industry, or you're a super hardcore crazy fan that we've talked about and you'll point at it and go, that is gibberish. And it is gibberish because it's a scene from a movie, but it all depends on what hat you want to put on when you do indeed sit down in your theatre. If you're just happy to take what comes, you'll have a good time, but if you maybe wanted something a bit more real and a bit more truthful, no, you're not going to get it. It's also very mushy and tries to toy around with melodrama in order to hit you right in the gut. But if you like that kind of stuff, you're going to like this. It's like The Notebook, right? I don't get The Notebook. I've watched it a few times, but I do know people love it just because it is so schmaltzy. So if you like schmaltz, well, here's some schmaltz. It uses all the old tricks in the book to get it, but it does it with so much confidence and trying to pretend it's trying to do anything else. You can't help but just shrug your shoulders and go, all right, yeah, cool, I'll come along for the ride on a train. As for proper WWE fans, don't worry, you have been catered for too. Not only does The Rock have a far bigger role in this than I actually thought he would do, I thought he'd be here and there, but actually, no, it's a big chunk. There's also one scene with Sheamus and The Big Show that I liked way more than I should have done. Sheamus especially comes across like the biggest goof ever, intentionally so, and he deserves a hell of a lot of credit for it. It is a blink and you'd miss it moment, but you know what it's like. We all feel like we're part of this special club, and when you know you're seeing something that only other members of that club will get, it just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. That will happen here as well. So it's a feel-good British movie that just so happens to be focused on wrestling, and that is a lovely niche to have. Usually with these things you get hard-hitting exposés like The Wrestler, or you get absolute nonsense like Ready to Rumble. And if you've seen Ready to Rumble once, you know that was one time too many. So to get a halfway house which is film first, wrestling second is a lovely balance. It never hits you over the head too much with it, and just goes to show you, here's this world that it exists, and look at the kind of stories that can come out the other end. Look at the successes it has bred. That does mean if you're an avid moviegoer, you may feel like you've seen this all before, but again, I kind of think that's what they were going for. Fighting with My Family isn't trying to break the mold, it's just trying to tell you a story about Paige, someone that managed to overcome a damn lot in order to get as high as she possibly could within an industry that's pretty hard to crack through the ceiling in. To sum it up, just before the credits roll, you get that kind of text you always do in movies that are based on true stories to let you know what the characters did next. And one of them simply says, The Rock went on to have a very successful career away from wrestling. Even though The Rock is in the movie, which goes to suggest that yes, he did do something after he had left the ring. But for me, that sums up exactly who Fighting with My Family is for. But yeah, it's alright. I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I saw it once. Maybe I'll watch it again when it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray, or I download it digitally because we live in a crazy world in 2019 where you can do that to show to other wrestling fans. But it is something that will steal your time away for a couple of hours, and then you can just move on to whatever's next. So it's nice, it's lovely, it's pleasant. And if nothing else, Stephen Merchant is an underrated gem in anything he does. I'm going to support to the hills. And again, the role that he does have in it, he plays the guy that doesn't understand wrestling at all, and even his facial expressions, the man just gets it. Shout out to Stephen Merchant. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you think about Fighting with My Family, whether you're excited to see it or you're planning to see it, and then come back after you've seen it and you can let us know more. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE, and you're already here on WhatCulture Wrestling. Why not watch yourself some more videos? My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching. And if you have got all the way to the end of the video and you still want a too long didn't read, I would simply say Fighting with My Family is very good. That's it. Imagine you went out and you bought a film magazine, it just had the title, and then all the text was, it's very good. But it is. It's fun. It's easy. It's accessible. All the words that I've dropped throughout the last 10 minutes or so here on this newfangled crazy system we know as YouTube. And if nothing else, isn't it just nice that people are releasing mainstream wrestling films? I know the WWE's involved and The Rock's involved. They've absolutely helped with that. But Stephen Merchant, we mentioned him, he of The Office fame. He's now kind of got involved with wrestling. Nick Frost, Lena Headey, she's from Games of Thrones, for goodness sake. There's a lot to take in here, and if it's a success, maybe we'll get more down the line. And I'm all for more movies about pro wrestling. There must be some things we haven't touched. The Bret Hart screw job, I know he had Hitman Shadows, whatever that was called, we could do something with that. Undertaker, he had a crazy career. Mick Foley, there's loads of stories that I would like to see make it to the big screen, and if it starts here, if this starts a resurgence, I'm going to be alright with it. And also, that will just make more wrestling fans, and you can never have too many wrestling fans. It means more people are watching the product, that means more companies are being successful, and means more wrestlers can say, hey, why don't you pay me a bit more money? Because look, everybody's making more money. And that is what it's all about. I mean, I've taken this and I've kind of blown it out of proportion, but that's just what I do. Fighting with my family.